And you know why? You're not seeing the world. You know what happens when you have to go someplace? You're laughing. You know what happens when you have to go someplace every day at 4 a.m? You can't go nowhere. You got to be here every day. You've been 15 years. You've missed the whole world. You don't know what you're talking about. And you're saying it confidently. And you're in an algorithm where people actually believe you out of response. And why you think they keep you here? They want y'all to make us dumb.
But if you worked here, you would.
I would never work here. I would only
$20 million in debt.
What you talking about? I'm not in debt. Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. I'm not in debt at all now. What are you talking about?
Oh, you paid it all off?
When you have this bankruptcy 7 is like getting hit by the cartel with 100 bricks and they die and you don't owe no more. I want you to ask someone this is what you should do if you want to do something smart. Get a specialist, a lawyer in bankruptcy, and you ask them these questions. Get a professional up here, and then they'll tell you. Why ask me? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then when he tells you you're dumb, you'll believe him. Anyway, the difference between you and I don't think you're a proper representation of the masculine black man. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you guys are.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Like, your OG is Wendy Williams. My OG is sitting right here. You see him? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you why he's my OG. Because he killed anybody or any of those things. He just taught me how to be a better man.
Wendy not my OG.
Can you
That's
stop?
Funny, though.
Can you stop?
Wendy Williams is your OG.
Wasn't she your boss?
Yeah, at one point.
So she was your OG. She put you on, and you should give her grace. And you should also give her props out of respect.
Oh, I do.
Because we have different trauma.
You know, Charlemagne the God, and I don't even know why he called himself that. I like calling him Charlemagne the Devil, which I believe, good one for Greg Foreman, the Black Conservative Perspective. But Damon Dash said something that makes sense. He talked about bankruptcy, and a lot of black people don't seem to get it. But Damon Dash was trying to educate them. So when you hear Damon Dash say things like, when you wake up, what do you see out of your window? He's not saying it like my house is bigger than yours. He's not saying it because he's trying to say, I bought a bigger house than you, or I got many. He's saying it for a reason. He's saying it for a reason. It was a metaphor, and they weren't getting it. They were making fun of him about the child support and all this other stuff. And and the Breakfast Club, they were really trying to put Damon Dash down. But Damon Dash, I'm going to tell you this. I grew up with Rockefeller and Jay-Z and so forth. And Damon Dash has matured a lot from those years when he was with Rockefeller and rocking it with Jay-Z and so forth. He has matured. And when he talks about bankruptcy, and they laughed at Trump and said Trump was a terrible business. No. When you got an S corporation, C corporation, and so forth, when you file bankruptcy practically every year, you wipe out. Businesses do this. All of them, Macy's, Blooming, all of them, they file these bankruptcies. So when Trump said he has never gone broke, he hasn't, because the system was designed for people to file bankruptcy and to continue keeping their profits and so forth. So when Damon Dash talks about filing bankruptcy, he didn't file bankruptcy because he was broke and he had nothing. Ask 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent. Ask these guys, when they file bankruptcy, they're not filing it because they have no money. They're filing it because they're protecting themselves. They're protecting their assets. They're protecting their homes. Why Damon Dash can say by many homes and so forth. So when you look on paper and you think Damon Dash has nothing, he has one over on you. And this is what the big companies do. That's why Donald Trump was a smart businessman and not a dumb one, as Charlemagne the idiot tried to say. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this channel. So let's get to it. So Damon Dash was on the Breakfast Club. I think it was on the 16th of September. I'm not really sure. We'll probably find out later. But he sat down with the Breakfast Club, and this man was dropping some gems on ownership, legacy, and making smart moves. And I had to commend him because the people at the Breakfast Club, the Charlemagne the buffoon and the rest of his crew, they weren't getting what he was saying. They were literally trying to put him down. And like I said, I've grew up knowing about Damon Dash with Rockefeller and so forth, and and of course people are going to go through issues financially and so forth. But Damon Dash was trying to educate them, and because they were really trying to I guess destroy his legacy, destroy who he was as a man, or who he is as a man. And he actually made some sense. Okay. So I had to get some stats up, because when he talks about investments and things like that, ownership, I needed to find out what it was that we as blacks are doing wrong, because we're failing. And the race hustlers like the Mark Lamont Hill, the Roland Martin, the Al Sharpton and them, they're not helping you understand what it is you need to do to secure your legacy. They're doing that for themselves as they're robbing you. Okay. And so I had to sit down and get the stats, because I needed to know what is going on. So this is the numbers that I have pulled up. So the typical white family has 8 times the wealth of the typical black family. And this has nothing to do with black, white, because these financial hardship that blacks are going through in today's time is because of black people's fault. Has nothing to do with white people. Now, once again, are there white people that are racist, could work at your job location and do things to hinder your success? Yes, there's probably some out there. But if I'm going to sit down and say that all of them are doing this to blacks, then I'd be lying to you. Just like there's some blacks out there who are in leadership roles who would probably do things to help black people out compared to white people. And that too is wrong. And so it goes both ways. I just have to put it out there. So these stats that I'm reading has nothing to do with white people holding black people back or oppression. It has to do with black people making poor choices. So as I stated earlier, the typical white family has 8 times the wealth of the typical black family. Black Americans represent 14.5% of all business owners, yet businesses tend to be smaller and less capitalized. So it's true. You'll notice that black people start a little restaurant or nail shop or hair salon or things like that. We are afraid to, there was an old saying, scared money don't make money. And that means if you want to make some money, you're going to have to spend some money. And this is true. Black people are more afraid to spend what they have, because they feel like, this is my money. I earned it. I don't want to lose it on something that, we have no faith. We have no belief in ourselves. We'll do these little mom and pop shops, but we don't believe in making those big moves. And sometimes most of the time, the ones who do make those big moves, they come out on top. And it's just me. I just had to throw that out there. Okay. Despite growth in black entrepreneurship, blacks still lag behind in business equity, which is the second largest form of wealth after home ownership. So once again, we're growing in black entrepreneurship, but think about what kind of business we're starting. We're not creating businesses that can be corporations, huge corporations. We're creating business that is just a business. You'll find a couple that have created corporations. Some of them we do franchise. We might do some franchise or something. But a business that we created from the ground up, our money, and we invested our money into that business, and looking for investors and things like that, it is lacking. And and this is the truth, I think a lot of investors are afraid to invest in black businesses because they're not sure of their discipline. And so I'll give you an example. There was a restaurant that was open. It was called Celebrity Cafe. Really nice soul food restaurant. But see, that's what we do. We do like little restaurants, soul food restaurants. And the business started, and instead of taking the money, because when you start a business, you're not gonna have any money. You better you better have some money to pay your bills and get something to eat. But in all your business, you will not make money till after maybe 3 years. Well, these people were taking the money that they made and buying fancy cars and all this other stuff and not paying the vendors. And you have to pay the vendors. If you don't pay the vendors, you have problems. And so they weren't paying their vendors. And so that was hurting their payroll and things like that. They had to go out of business. And like less than a month, or maybe it was open a couple of months, and less than 2 months, somewhere around that, they did not last long. And that's where I think a lot of investors are afraid of. I think they're afraid that most young black people lack the discipline to understand that you're going to go through some hard times, some real struggles in the beginning before that business takes off. Okay. Black-owned businesses contribute over $207 billion in the economy, but still underrepresented in high-growth sectors. So all the money that black businesses contribute, they're still not in that high-growth sectors. And I believe it's like those businesses, they stay stagnant. This is my perspective on it. Those businesses invest in the economy, but those businesses, they're stagnant. They're not in that high growth. So every year, most of the time, C corporation, S corporation, they at least need to grow. At least, I want to say 30%. I want to say around there somewhere, where these businesses, they grow with new ideas, new technology, things like that. But most business, especially black entrepreneurship, they stay stagnant. So they're still chucking along, but they're not growing as much as they should. They're not investing in technology, and things like that. So that's where I believe that comes in from, where they're underrepresented because they're not growing as fast as these other businesses that invest their money, their time and energy into growth. And growth is, like I said, into new technology, new ideas, new creation, things like that. You have to grow your business. And if I was an entrepreneur, I would always think about growing that business every year to 2 years, at least 30% growth. I would say every year, but that's my perspective. If anybody thinks I'm wrong, please challenge me on that. And let's not forget savings, okay? Nearly 60% of black households have less than $1,000 in emergency savings. So, I'm not sure when they say black households, are they talking about homeowners or just in general? But a lot of blacks do not have savings. A lot feel, I'm the old saying, I'm going to die. I can't take the money with me, so I might as well spend it. That's true to a certain degree, but, without it at the time, when you retire and so forth, you at least want something. I used to hear people say, if I go to jail, at least I have bail money. It's something that, that's just the same, because you should always have something stashed away. You should always put something aside. Most can, even if the electricity bill is due, and let's say they were late on your pay, they forgot to pay you, or there was an error at payroll. You should be able to go to your account and say, okay, let me go pay. Let me go into my savings, and then that money I get from payroll, I'll just put it back. But a lot can't do that. A lot have to beg, go to these loan shops where they, promise to pay you back at an interest rate that makes no sense. Or, you got to beg family. And that's the one thing I don't like, is to beg family for some money. So that's something that I feel like Damon Dash was really onto something. He was hitting some points, and Charlemagne the buffoon kept playing these stupid games only because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, when he says Donald Trump made bad business, that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And Charlemagne the God and Damon Dash was 100% correct. I was actually pretty proud to listen to Damon Dash try to be as humble, realistic as possible. And these people at the Breakfast Club was just trying to cut him at the knees. But he stayed on top, and he spoke the truth, and he spoke about life in general. And I appreciate it. He said some things about Charlemagne the buffoon, which, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I just love the financial aspect of the conversation.
So how, if let's say everything in the judgment doesn't go, nothing's still on my name. There's still nothing to collect. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you know how many times Donald Trump filed?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah. So then why is it
but he's known as a terrible businessman. But no, he's not.
He's the president.
Yeah, but sure, but he still was known as a terrible businessman, actually a con man.
Do you know how confidently dumb you sound? You're saying it's bad that he went bankrupt 6 times. He's a billionaire and he's the president,
but
and you still knocking.
A terrible businessman and con artist.
Are you known as a good businessman?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you make a lot of money?
No.
So you've been doing this every day your whole life and you're not making no money?
Nope.
You just now said, let's just go back to how ridiculous you are. The president filed for bankruptcy 8 times, still a billionaire. He's saying he's a bad businessman. You're just not that smart.
It's true. It's true.
Okay.
And you have to acknowledge that. And you know why? You're not seeing the world. You know what happens when you have to go someplace? You're laughing. You know what happens when you have to go someplace every day at 4 a.m? You can't go nowhere. You got to be here every day. You've been 15 years. You've missed the whole world. You don't know what you're talking about. And you're saying it confidently. And you're in an algorithm where people actually believe you out of response. And why you think they keep you here? They want y'all to make us dumb.
See, that's the point I'm making here, is that Charlemagne the buffoon does not understand how this works. Donald Trump never filed personal bankruptcy, never filed a Chapter 7 or something like that. He filed bankruptcy on his businesses. But that's what they do. They file bankruptcy for their business every year so that they could eliminate most of their debt. And then they start again. Macy's do this all the time. When I learned this, I was like, wow, how come the average individual can't do this? It was designed so that it was to protect business from failing. So they can file bankruptcy unless when they file bankruptcy and they're still in that kind of debt. If you notice, airlines, they file bankruptcy, but they have protection. So airlines would file bankruptcy, and then they would get some protection from the government or so forth, so that they can still survive as they fix whatever financial difficulties that happen. Individuals like us, when we file for bankruptcy, we have to wait 7 years or so just so we could start all over again with good credit. But the lucky part is we get rid of that debt, but it's just that, we're still sitting at the bottom. Corporations, they file bankruptcy, but they're protected, so they can get rid of most of their debt and still stay in business. You can't do it all the time, but these corporations, they can do that. I believe, and I could be wrong, I believe that they can file at least every year. They can file bankruptcy and still survive. It's an unfair practice, but this is what Damon Dash was talking about. And Charlemagne the buffoon just don't get it.
Last time I was behind, it was $1 million. I paid it. That sounds broke to you? If all my children, and I pay their colleges up front, they don't have debt, meaning they don't have to go on, that sounds broke to you? Every one of my baby mothers has 2 or 3 houses. That sounds broke to you? It's not about me. If you Google her family or certain people I know, I'll Google them. They have no money. I Google the family office, $10 billion. Rich people don't put anything in their name, but you don't know that. You don't know that. And I feel sorry for you because you don't get.
Did you hear what he just said? And it went above their heads like it was, I don't get it. I don't get it. So he said most people that own business don't put a lot of stuff in their name. And he is 100% right, okay? Liability protection. So shielding from lawsuits and risk compartmentalization. Sorry. So that's one. Tax optimization. So pass-through entities, S Corps, LLC, things like that. And depreciation and deductions. Let me tell you something. This guy, Damon Dash, knows what he's talking about. Privacy and not anonymity. Excuse me. So it is like avoiding public scrutiny, reducing targeting. I mean, Damon Dash is 100% correct, but here's the real important part. Estate planning and asset transfer. You're avoiding those taxes, those estate taxes. Those are the real big deal. And Damon Dash hit it on the head. He hit it on the head, and it went over them like they didn't know what they were talking about. They were laughing like he didn't know what he was talking about, and he knew exactly what he was talking about. And it's really sad to see this. And he's right. I feel sorry for you if you don't get it. Okay, when you start an LLC, like if you can't get a bank account, you start an LLC, open up a bank account. You'll notice your money will not be touched. And that's the truth. That is the truth. And these morons out here don't seem to get it. Okay, and this is why blacks are failing miserably. Miserably.
I'm mad that black people waste so much money on frivolous things, and our children financially suffer when we pass. I'm mad that most of us don't have life insurance policies. I'm mad that we don't own homes and we're renters, right? I'm mad that we keep starting at the back of the race, but we have every Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Prada, Fendi. I'm tired of that. I'm not mad at your comments, my sister, my brother. I'm not mad at that. I'm mad at how far financially behind we are. That's what I'm mad at. I'm mad because you're taught that you gotta stretch yourself to the furthest limits to prove that you're somewhere financially that you're not, and then ultimately still lose the race. That's what I'm mad at. I'm mad that society measures men based on how much money they spend. That's what I'm mad at.
Who programmed us to make us think that success means living separate from our own families? You got people paying $3,000 a month for a one bedroom apartment just to look independent. They could be pulling their money together to have generational wealth. I think it's a coincidence that every other ethnic group, the Koreans, Arabs, you name it, they all live together. They pour their resources together and build an empire. But somehow, when black people do it, we're told we're not successful. That's psychological warfare. They destroyed our family structures during slavery, and now they're finishing the job through media manipulation. Your grandmother's house could be the headquarters of a multi-million-dollar family trust, but instead you're worried about what Keisha, what Jamal's going to think when you live with your mom. That's why you got to wake up. When you're trying to impress people with your own individual place and things aside from your family, at the same time you got white families down the street buying their third rental property because they kept their money together. You gotta play chess, not checkers. Strategic thinking, long-term planning. And another thing, they got us thinking that taking care of our elders is a burden instead of an honor. In Africa, the elders are the center of the family structure. Like the rate of even family reunions is down because the elders have been dying off, passing away, especially since 2020. Of course, we all know what happened. But here in America, they got us putting our grandmothers into nursing homes and paying strangers to take care of them. Meanwhile, families are going broke trying to maintain these separate lifestyles outside of their family. For what? Black people need to consolidate their power, stop trying to impress people who don't care about them anyway. Pool your resources, not pull, not tug of war pull. Pool, like carpool. Pool your resources, buy the property, create a trust. At the end of the day, when the economic storm comes, you know it's coming. The family that sticks together is going to survive together.
Yeah, sometimes I watch these videos and it really bothers me sometimes because a lot of it is true. And it's sad that some wake up and realize what's going on. And then, well, it's not sad. That makes me happy when people do wake up, because I used to be like that. I used to think, you know, I'm going to spend now because it's not going to come with me when I die. And I wanted to live large. I wanted to look good, and I wanted to impress other people. And it's not until you lose everything when you realize that, hey, I need to refocus my attention on my financial situation. And I had to stop impressing others, because they're only with you when you have, and when you don't have, they're gone. So I had to focus on me and how I can build myself and do things and take challenges and risks. And I did do that, and I was laughed at and made a fool out of. But, you know, I ended up with the last laugh. So let's look at why blacks are failing. Post-civil rights complacency. So after the Civil Rights Act of 1964, many believed the battle was won. But while legal barriers fell, economic ones remain. We got access, but not the equity. And I'm not saying as far as whites holding them back, okay? Because what I mean by that is they didn't get equity, is that blacks weren't able to reach up to that standard. So they didn't get the equity because blacks continue believing that the government should be paying them and that they didn't have to put out so much. And because blacks have a fear of institutions like the legal institutions, banking institutions, and so forth, they were more afraid to spend. And so that's where the equity falls down, because we were holding back while others were investing, spending, and taking those risks. So we got jobs, yes, but we didn't get like ownership. So that's why we are at the bottom of the top. And it's something when illegal immigrants come over and get business, while what they call FBAs, foundational black Americans, weren't. While we're last in entrepreneurship. Think about that. We used to be second in population, but we're last in ownership. We used to be second in population, we're now third, and we're about to be fourth by 2065. But we keep wanting to call every other black person Uncle Tom's and all this other stuff, and the writing is on the wall, and we're not paying attention. We're about to be fourth in population. That needs to sink in. We used to be second. Now we are fourth. We're still third, but we are about to be fourth, because the Asian Americans will become 14% in population. And they are not playing. They have business, they have home ownership, and they have an account. Please let that sink in. They have the education. They invested their time and energy in their education, and they focus. They're very focused. We, on the other hand, we want to twerk. We want to shoot and kill each other. We want to rob and steal. And then we blame the white man for everything. And we allow the race hustlers, like I said, the Mark Lamont Hill, the Al Sharpton, the Michael Eric Dyson, the Roland Martin. We allow them to manipulate us into believing that woe is us. It's really ridiculous. Lack of financial literacy. So we don't know. We don't know. We weren't taught. We were not taught this. And we're not being taught this in schools or anything. Roth IRAs or business credit. We were taught to survive. We were put into the survival mode. Like once we gotta survive. But we weren't taught anything else. And those same race hustlers who like to tell us that we're the victims, they were taught this. That's why they're living well. You know who they live with? They live right next to a white person. So please let that sink in. Cultural consumption over capital creation. So blacks are the highest spenders in this country. I think we spend over $1 trillion. We need the latest brand. What new Michael Jordans are out? We're gonna get it. New Gucci bag. And you know what the funny part is? China makes most of those bags from Gucci and so forth. It only gets shipped to Italy so they could put the little name and maybe a little insignia logo or something. They spend squat. And then they charge us thousands. So please, let that sink in. They're making a killing because we are so dumb and stupid that we don't realize that we are being played. We will go and spend our money. Why you think they don't mind you getting a check? Because all you're gonna do is take that money and spend it on frivolous things. So we really need to wake up. We're talking about something about systemic barriers. There's no systemic barriers. I'm sorry. You know. Well, let me change that. Bill Clinton started predatory lending, which plagued the black community, black Americans. Excuse me, not black community, black Americans. How we purchased homes just to lose it. Okay? Bill Clinton didn't care about your success. He cared about his legacy. And we as black people were dumb. Bill Clinton caused the 2008 the housing crash. Not Republicans, Bill Clinton and Democrats, because they played us. Okay? Redlining. Once again, Democrats. Redlining kept blacks in poor conditions. And and taking a father away. So, you know, us men couldn't be with the women to uplift that community. Why black communities look so like World War II happened over there. Dystopian. Okay? It looks like an apocalyptic disaster. But yet, we always crying, oh white man, oh white man. Okay? It is really sad. So, once again, I think we have a lack of access to capital because I feel like that most banks and so forth do not believe that black people have the discipline, because so many business that they start fail while we're still so small. And we start these little small business and we can't even survive. So I believe banks and so forth feel that we are not disciplined. And it's sad that they got to look at black people that way. I think they do the same thing with like when it comes to CEOs and so forth. I feel like why you see less blacks as CEOs and so forth is because I feel like they do not believe we have the discipline to make those hard choices, those hard decisions. And so this is why I feel like blacks try to get up there, but fail. And we blame everything on white people, on systemic racism, all this other junk, and not on the real issues that we lack education, we lack the discipline to be successful. And that is the truth. And I don't know what else to say except, we really have to do better. I keep saying this all the time, and we just keep falling for it. We don't believe in ourselves, and we truly enjoy stabbing and shooting each other. Okay? While we are failing in every metric, but we certainly are winning in homicide. We're winning big time. We lead in homicide. And the number one cause of death for a black age 0 to 35 is homicide. Because we'll kill each other over the dumbest things ever. So, let me know what you guys think. Please leave me a message. I'm always willing and ready to debate. If I'm wrong, I'll accept that I'm wrong. But for some reason, I feel like I'm right on this. Damon Dash, you did an excellent job trying to explain to a bunch of knuckleheads because they're not listening. They're stuck. They're stuck, man. I would stop going on that show if I was you. I would stop going. What Damon Dash said was 100% correct. And like I said, I grew up during those times with Damon Dash, Rockefeller, Jay-Z, and so forth. And everybody says, oh, Jay-Z's a billionaire. Jay-Z, blah, blah, blah. But they need to look at what Damon Dash is saying. Damon Dash got money. He's just not going to tell you. And he's not going to display his money. If people are listening, they'll realize that Damon Dash is a very smart man. And he did exactly what other business entrepreneurs do. They don't tell their business. So please, pay attention, stay focused, get an education, and you'll be okay. For those people like Charlemagne the bozo, Charlemagne the buffoon, just keep buffooning, okay? Because you have no clue what you're talking about. Anyway, please remember, like, subscribe, share this channel. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. Or you could write me at themarcperspective@gmail.com. I'm always willing and able, ready to have those discussions. Until then, you guys have a great day. Peace.